Okay, so now we have tasks in there. We need to give them durations. They've all just been given a duration of 1 day question mark. So first we're going to discuss the different units that you have to enter in durations, which would be minutes, hours, days, weeks, or months. And we're also going to talk about the difference between a normal duration and elapsed time. So let's go take a look at some durations and get this project going. Entering task durations is quite easy. What we need to be aware of, though, are the different types of durations that we can use, the different units essentially. So at the smallest unit that we can use would be minutes, okay, represented by an M. So if I said on a particular task I want it to take 30 minutes, I would do 30 M, hit enter, and that indicates 30 minutes. The next available unit would be hours, which is indicated by an H. So let's just take a look at that. If I want this to take 8H, and then I hit enter, that would indicate 8 hours. Next available unit being days, and that is the default. So if I wanted this to take, let's just say 10 days, 10D, and then hit enter, that puts in the unit of days. Now what you'll probably notice as well is that these bars are changing slightly on the side to indicate the new duration that we're entering. After days would come weeks, weeks indicated by a W. So if I put 4W and hit enter, that puts in 4 weeks. And then the last unit available would be months, and that is indicated by MO. Remember, M is just minutes, MO will do months. Now what we need to also be aware of is a few comparisons. 1 week is the exact same as 5 days. So if I'm putting in 1 week expecting it to be a 7-day week, it is not. It is a 5-day work week. Okay, so 1 week is 5 days. 1 month would be the equivalent of 20 days. So we just need to be aware of some equivalents when dealing with durations. Another one being hours. 8 hours would be the same as 1 day, and so on and so forth. The other ones we could probably figure out. So if I'm just going to put in some fake durations here, a couple are a month. So let's say this one is going to be 2 weeks. Locations will be 15 days maybe. Okay, so once we've entered in some durations, those will be represented over on our Gantt chart by the blue bars, of course. Now, what we also can use potentially is we may want to switch all of our durations here to be a consistent unit. And what I mean by that is they should probably all be using the same comparison. So if I use days, weeks, and months, I should probably pick one. Let's say, as an example, we'll pick days. I'd like everything to be in days, just so that it's an easier way to compare task to task. It's a little bit more consistent. Now, if people are telling me durations that are in months or weeks or days, I might want to enter it this way, but now I'd like to convert it. And how you go about converting a duration, there's a little trick for you. And what you're going to do is if you go to your Tools menu, and you go down to Macro, and then you choose Macros. Up pops your macros box, and you actually have one called Format Duration. And this will be present on just a regular, normal install of Project 2007. So if I choose Format Duration, and then choose Run, up pops this Format Duration box, and I can choose the unit I'd like to use as a consistent unit throughout my durations. So I'm going to pick days, and then click OK. Everything then gets converted into days. So I could enter it in a whole bunch of different units, but still convert it at the end to be one consistent unit. One other thing I'd like to talk about is something called elapsed time. So I'm going to create a fake little task at the end here, and I'm going to make it 6 days. Now, I'm going to move this little bar back a bit so we can see this bar on the Gantt chart. So there you have it, you can see it. Now, that is taking 6 working days. In reality, it's spanned over 8 days in actual duration, because because you notice it goes across a weekend. Weekends, no work is done in our particular calendar, and so the 6th day is done on the following Monday. If this task were something that is not dependent on a work week or a work day, let's say we were painting the office, and I have this task, and this task is going to be an amount of time for that paint to dry. Well, paint doesn't exactly work on our, working calendar. Paint's going to dry 24 hours a day, and it doesn't care about weekends. It doesn't stop come Saturday and then start drying again on Monday. So, how we achieve this quickly and easily is something called elapsed time. And how we enter in elapsed time is simply putting an E in front of any of the units that we use. So if I were to type in 6ED, stating elapsed days, and then hit enter, you'll notice that it's going in elapsed time, and it simply ends on that Saturday. So it is 6 days, elapsed time, 24-hour clock. So that is a really fast way to switch a task to be using a 24-hour calendar as far as the duration goes. And that's putting an E in front of any unit, whether it's weeks, months, days, doesn't matter. It'll switch it to elapsed time. So there you have it. That's entering in durations, as well as a neat little trick of how to switch them to be all the same duration without you having to do it manually. Remember, if you put the letter E in front of the unit that you're using for duration, it will switch to elapsed time, meaning going on the 24-hour clock. So keep that in mind if you need a task to simply run 24 hours without switching the calendar.